It's Sarah, and today I wanted to share with you a couple of books that I pretty much made my kids pick for me. Now, I have been in a really weird reading mood, and I have mentioned this before, but we have a lot going on right now, and it's kind of to a point where I just don't want to make a lot of decisions myself. I'm like kind of done making decisions. I'm over it. I don't want to make any more. I don't want to adult. That is me right now. And I started thinking about books I was going to read in May, and I just wasn't sure. I couldn't pick, and it was just like one more decision for me to make, and I didn't want to do it. So I made my kids do it. I was like, you guys pick for me. I want you to pick, each of you pick a book off of this shelf in particular, and I will read that in the month of May. And so they did. And that book shelf was the book of the month shelf. So all of my book of the month books that I have not read yet are sitting on one shelf on my mantle in my office. And so I made them pick each a book for me to read, and I'm going to put those on my May TBR. So that's going to be happening. And speaking of book of the month, they are very kindly sponsoring this video for me. So I have talked a lot about book of the month over the years because I have been a subscriber to them since 2020, and I have loved my subscription to them. And so every month I love getting my blue box. So what book of the month is, if you haven't heard about it, it is a monthly subscription service where they will present to you anywhere between 5 and 7 books, and you can pick up to 3 books in a box of books that you want to read for the month. These are books that have been vetted by the company. They do a lot of research into upcoming books. A lot of these are debut authors, which is really awesome. A lot of them can be early releases too. So sometimes you're going to get books a little bit earlier than the general public, which is really cool. And they will present these books to you, and you choose which book you want to pick for the month. And then you get that box. Now, the cool thing about Book of the Month is that it's really kind of risk-free because you are, pretty much guaranteed to get at least one book that you're going to want to read that month. But if you look at all the choices and nothing is really calling to you, or you're not really interested in any of them, you can skip that month and you won't be charged. Not a big deal. So that's fantastic. And there's no limit on how many times you can skip. It doesn't matter. There's no penalties, there's no fees, there's nothing like that. So to me, I think that is fantastic because you have that option. So it's really whatever you want. So I really love that about them. They have fantastic choices every month, and it's a really good mix of debut authors, and some popular authors are in there as well. If they have new releases coming out, a lot of times they will be included in here too, which is really great. So I'm going to show you what the May Book of the Month options are. Very exciting. So for the month of May, there were 6 main choices, which is awesome. And then there were also a couple of add-ons, and I did get one of those, so I'll show you that one at the end here. But the first one here is Take My Hand. This is by Dolan Perkins Valdez. This one follows a young Black nurse who is living in Montgomery, Alabama in the 1970s, and she has just graduated nursing school, and she starts taking on patients in her city, and then she ends up coming across 2 of her patients, which are very young girls, 11 and 13, and she is realizing how dangerous it really is to these young Black girls in this environment and in this time frame, and it's just kind of a really hard reality for her, and she ends up really taking them under her wing. The next one here is Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. I really hope I said that correctly. This follows 2 women, Sarah and Emily. They are both living in Los Angeles. They both have difficult pasts. They're both kind of trying to run from them a little bit. And they both end up working for the same employer, which is a restaurant. One of them is a bartender. The other one is a florist arranger, and they end up meeting and they start falling in love. However, there's a lot of obstacles in their way. There's a lot of things coming up from their past threatening to pull them apart, and they have to decide if their relationship is worth it or not. So that sounds interesting. Okay, this next one is called Breathless. This is by Amy McCulloch, and this one follows a journalist who is going along on an expedition for this team of mountain climbers. They are climbing this very dangerous mountain, and she is there to go along a little bit. She's not going to go on the entire thing, but she is basically documenting what they're going through and things like that for a column that she's going to be writing about them. However, while she is there, a couple of them die, and it starts becoming a little bit apparent that maybe these are not accidents that is killing these climbers. And now she's stuck in the middle of everything in this very dangerous conditions and trying to figure out what's going on. And this next one is Darling Girl. This is by Liz Mikulski. This one is a Peter Pan retelling. It is a more modern Peter Pan retelling, and we are following a woman named Holly, who is the granddaughter of Wendy Darling. And this follows the whole concept that Peter Pan was real. She knows about it. It's a whole thing. She is living her best life. She has 2 kids. However, her daughter, who has been in a coma for quite a while due to something, has gone missing from the estate. And she has this sneaking suspicion that Peter Pan is the one who is responsible for abducting her daughter. So she is going to go on a mission to try to find her. I love the concept of this. Okay, so this next one is called The Hacienda. This is by Isabel Cañas, and this one has been kind of marketed as Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca. So we are following a young woman named Beatrice, and she ends up marrying this man who takes her to the hacienda. And it's really kind of a marriage of convenience for her. She needs some protection. She needs some stability, and he's going to provide that for her. However, the longer she's in this house, the more she's realizing that not all is as it seems, and maybe there's some eyes watching her. And so she starts getting really creeped out by that kind of stuff. So sounds interesting. Okay, this next one, this is the last of the main picks, and this would be my choice. That is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Now, I have not read anything by this author yet, but I hear such amazing things about her books, and that just her writing is so on point and great. So I definitely want to read something by her. So this will definitely be what I pick up. So this follows Alexis and Daniel, and they meet. However, they're from very different backgrounds. Alexis is part of a family who is very well known in the hospital, like surgeons, like hospital wings are named after them. So they're very, very much into that. And she is an ER doctor, and she's considered the problem child because she's just an ER doctor. She's not a surgeon. So it's one of those things. However, she's very happy where she is. Daniel is a carpenter, and he is from very humble, a very humble background, complete opposite of what she is used to. So she is trying to not only be in a relationship with Daniel, but keep him far away from her family because they are very toxic and difficult people to be around. So she struggles with wanting to be with him and also not wanting to disappoint her family and still support her family as well. So she's kind of stuck in the middle there, but I definitely want to read this very soon. Okay, so the add-on that I was sent is the new book by Holly Black. This is Book of Night, and this is her first adult fantasy book that she has written. She has written a lot in the young adult genre and a little bit in middle grade as well. And I'm interested to see what she does for adult. Now, I haven't read a whole lot by her. I have read a couple, just I think 2 books that were written by her and one that was co-authored with Cassandra Clare. But she does write fairy books mostly, and this one is not necessarily a fairy book. I think it's more like magician and sorcery and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm vaguely interested in this one. And as always, you get a fun little bookmark with every box. This one says, "Please don't stop." I love that. For a bookmark, please don't stop. Huge thanks to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video and for sending me these books. I'm very excited about them. If you guys have not subscribed to Book of the Month yet and you want to get your first box for $9.99, go ahead and use this code. I'm going to put it right up here for you. Use that code and you will be able to get your first book for $9.99, and that can be any book from their entire inventory. It doesn't have to be one of these. It can be any book that's available on their site, and they have a big backlog of books, and you can get it for $10, and it's going to be hardcover, and it's going to be amazing. So go ahead and use that. And I hope you guys check it out because I really do love their service. I will have a link to their website directly down below. So make sure you click on that and use this code. You can get your first book for $9.99. So make sure you go and check that out. Okay, so now, speaking of Book of the Month, I have a book of the month shelf because I have a lot of books that I have gotten from them that I just haven't read yet. And I decided I was going to make that a big goal of mine this year, is to focus on that shelf. And I have been I've been doing okay. I can concentrate on a little bit more. So I decided to pick 2 for the month of May. And I made my girls pick. I basically pointed to each book and gave a very brief, like, here's what this is about, here's what this is about, here's what this is about. And they were like, okay. So my daughter, Kaylin, who was 14, her pick is The Maid by Anita Prose, which I was very excited about because I've heard such good things about this book. It's also nice and short, but I have heard that it's feels like a cozy mystery. So it's not a thriller. But it is a mystery. It's a murder mystery, but it has more of a character-driven, like you're focusing more on the character than the actual murder. And our main character here, her name is Molly. She is a maid in a hotel, and she goes into one of the rooms to start cleaning it and finds a dead body. And it is a dead body of a person who is very prolific. And so it becomes like this big, huge thing. She even becomes a suspect in the murder. And you're following Molly very closely because she is somebody who's very socially awkward. She doesn't understand social cues very well. I believe there's talk about maybe neurodivergence in here with her. Don't know if it's ever named or not. I guess we'll see. But she struggles with that, which is why she loves her job so much, because it's solitary. She can just do her job. She can keep her head down. That's all that she wants. And you're really following her and how she's dealing with all this stuff. And, she's being forced to talk to people and, forced to like give testimonies and do all these things. So, but I'm very excited to read this. So I'm glad that Kaylin picked this one for me to read, and I will be reading it in the month of May. Okay, so Layla, my younger daughter, she is 10. She actually picked a fantasy book for me, which I was really surprised that she did that. But she picked The Keeper of Night, and this is by Kylie Lee Baker. And this is a Japanese-inspired fantasy. So this one follows our main character, who is a reaper, and she has certain types of powers that are descended from Japan. And these powers are supposed to be very much kept under the radar because they're considered dangerous, and she could definitely be shut out because of them and be considered dangerous and not be able to do her job anymore. So she's kind of trying to keep that a little bit quiet, that she has these powers. But I think the older she's getting, the more they're starting to become prevalent, and she can't control that. So I think she ends up leaving London. She is working in London. I think she ends up going to Japan, where maybe she can live a little bit more freely, or just try to figure out how she can use these powers in a good way. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. So we'll see. But I will be reading this in the month of May as well. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for me today. So those are 2 Book of the Month books that will definitely be on my TBR for the month of May. I think I'm going to add one from this box that I just unboxed as well. I think I'm going to add at least 1 or 2 onto my May TBR, possibly, hopefully. So please use the link down below and the code that I posted, and you get your first book for $9.99 from Book of the Month. Again, it's a service that I have been using for a couple of years. I absolutely love it, and I highly recommend it all the time. They also make great gifts as well. You can get gift subscriptions for people. So if you have a reader in your life that you want to reward them with some books, it's a great way to do that. You can get them subscriptions too. So definitely a big winner on that. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.